Welcome, binge watchers, where we talk about the stories and characters we love and the shows they live in. My name is Ron, and let's talk about Season 1 of the new Netflix Marvel original, Luke Cage. Luke Cage tells the story of Luke Cage. He was initially introduced to us in Jessica Jones as the bulletproof, super strong dude who just wants to be left alone. I'm no hero. The show takes place after Jessica Jones and Daredevil, which is cool because there's always this fear it's going to be a 13-episode origin story. But it's not. Like the other Netflix Marvel shows, Luke Cage basically says, this is our character, this is what they can do, and don't worry about it, man, just enjoy it. You know what? Fine. Here are some brief flashbacks, maybe an episode, to give you some context. So while Jessica Jones had this whole film noir thing going on, Luke Cage is different. It definitely has its style, but it's more like a cheesy action movie. But it just works. Luke Cage is a very standard superhero as far as his powers are concerned. He's super strong and he can't really be hurt. He's not a really standard superhero as far as the color of his skin is concerned. Fucking leftist propaganda shoving down our throat. No, it's fact. Up until now, most, or I think all of the African American superheroes were either sidekicks or cameos. The powerful thing about this character and what I think made him the right choice to be the first black superhero to lead their own show is that he has to be African American. This is not one of these characters where it really doesn't matter. I mean, Daredevil has historically been white, but would the story change all that much if he was black? No, not really. I mean, in the comic book, Sam Wilson eventually became Captain America, and now Captain America is black, and it's fine. It still works. Luke Cage, though, and the story in this season of the show has a lot to do with Harlem and the community there. Not just with Luke, but with the villains, too. Alright, so let's talk about the show itself. As I said, Luke Cage feels sort of like this corny 80s action film. They even make fun of that fact themselves. You have the one-liners, you have the camera slowly zooming in, and then the character says something that begins with sometimes. So a lot of people kind of dismissed this as bad writing, but I freaking loved it. I thought it worked because it wasn't just the writing and the delivery. It was also the music and the cinematography. This was a tribute to a certain kind of movie, and I thought it was very well done. The show's probably not as action-packed as you would expect. It definitely has plenty of fight scenes, but it doesn't feel like that's the center of the show. It's not nearly as violent as Season 2 of Daredevil. Also, the show makes sure that you know that Luke was a badass well before he got his powers. A lot of this season is about Luke the person, not necessarily Luke the superhero. Something else I loved about this season is the imagery. The show expertly gives you a different feel every time a different character is on screen, especially with Cottonmouth. His office, his music, the way he dresses, I really appreciate how they visually communicated the personalities of these characters. So the common theme with these Netflix Marvel shows seems to be that they have three major aspects, at least in the first season. The good guy aspect, or superhero aspect, which deals with the main characters and the stories around them. The crime drama aspect, which is usually a story involving a murder mystery of some sort or a police investigation. And the villain aspect, which showcases a badass, complicated villain. So how does Luke Cage stack up in these three aspects with the other Netflix Marvel shows? Okay, so first, the good guy superhero aspect. I still think Jessica Jones wins this one. I loved her character, but I really liked Luke Cage as a character as well. He gets really good character development. You understand why he's doing the things he's doing. He clearly doesn't have this superhero larger-than-life personality. He's not Captain America. He's just a guy that's been through a lot of shit, so he doesn't want anything to do with anything anymore, but he does have these powers that can help people. On the crime drama aspect, awesome. There's this whole police story in this season that I absolutely loved. I love the characters involved in it, especially the lead detective and her partner. It was great. On the villain side, that's where I feel this show came up short. Daredevil and Jessica Jones had these unique, interesting, incredible villains. Fisk and Kilgrave were amazing. The Punisher isn't exactly a villain, but he was the antagonist, and he was like the best thing ever. And here, the problem was that they didn't really have one villain. They sort of had three. And there was simply not enough awesomeness to go around. They did have one really good one, Cottonmouth, the one that you see in the trailer. I wish it was only him. He was great. He could have been up there with Fisk and Kilgrave, but unfortunately he had to share the screen. It made the whole thing feel a little unbalanced, especially one of the stories with the villains. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there's one villain story that just kind of goes off the rails. Bottom line, should you watch it? Well, if you're a fan of the other Netflix Marvel shows, then yes, no question, definitely watch this show. Is it as good as Jessica Jones and Daredevil? Well, it's different. Overall, I still like Daredevil best out of the three. As a complete show, I probably like the character of Jessica Jones more, but Daredevil is a better show all around. Luke Cage has a very specific tone that you're either gonna like or think it's like super cheesy and bad. Personally, I liked it, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the best thing ever, but I still thought it was very good and definitely worth your time. What about you? What did you think about season 1 of Luke Cage, and how do you think it compared to the first seasons of Jessica Jones and Daredevil? Put all your thoughts in the comments down below and let's get the discussion going. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, it really helps out a lot, and if you're finding binge watchers for the first time, welcome! I'd like to invite you to join the binge watchers community. Come talk about TV with us, it's a lot of fun. Subscribe to the channel, but in any case, keep binging, and I will see you next time.